newspapers, you're welcome to OneTV Port Harcourt. It's a great day, the 29th day of April 2022, and our program this morning is newspaper review. We're going to be looking at the headlines and some inside stories of how the media is reporting events within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. Thank God the weather is good here in Port Harcourt, and I believe the weather is good where you are, and we're going to have a wonderful time. My name is Didi West, and I have sitting with me one of Port Harcourt's best known public affairs commentator, Pat Obiene. Please, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Didi, for inviting me.
Yes. Thank you. We are going straight on to the newspapers, and we have quite a lot to report this morning. We start with the Punch, and on the headline left-hand corner before the title head of the paper, we have NNPC, 3 others generate 28.02 trillion in 3 years, according to the NAITI report. 28.02 trillion in 3 years, according to the NAITI report. Again, we have ASU, NLC plans solidarity protest, 3 days warning strike. So, the NLC is joining the protest of the lecturers for one reason or the other. You can find out details in the newspaper. We also have train attack, terrorists release newborn's picture, Khan intensifies prayers. So the hard times of the abductees continues. Now the terrorists are showing us the photograph of a newborn baby. Look at that, the front page of the Punch, actually page 6, for more on that. We see again, I deserve right of first refusal. That's article speaking to the PDP. You can find that again on page 6 of the Punch this morning. And then we see on the right hand corner of the Punch this morning, Nigeria's proven gas reserves worth over $803.4 trillion. Nigeria's proven gas reserves worth over $803.4 trillion, according to the federal government. Again, we see MG declares Monday, Tuesday public holiday. So next Monday and Tuesday will be public holiday in Nigeria. And then we come to the very big one. Presidency, PDP representatives, senior advocates of Nigeria warn Jonathan and his group, and the group threatens to take him to court if he does accept APC's approach to go to become a presidential candidate. The riders read, ex-presidents can't contest, it's risky, he will be ridiculed, according to Falana and Emeka Ngige. Reject APC, Buhari's offer, it's offensive, disgraceful to all of us, according to the PDP representatives. We will go to court if Jonathan joins race. We won't tolerate impunity. That is also coming from another group. And then right there we see 3 picture stories about 65, and it's about the passing out of youth corpers at in Ondo State. Out of them, the number, we see that 65 of them are going to repeat their service this year for one reason or the other. You'll find that story on page 12 of that paper. Right under that headline, we see security challenges, threats to Nigeria, to Nigeria's existence. That's by Biamiala, that's the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Next to that is Ogun Police parade 69 suspected ritualists, kidnappers, and others. That is on the front page also of the Punch this morning. Woman pays Lagos traditionalist 26 million naira for spiritual cleansing. That must be something good, something wonderful to cleanse. 26 million naira for spiritual cleansing. That is found on page 5 of the Punch this morning. Below that we see the bottom line stories. PDP leaders will work to rescue Nigeria, says Makinde, and you'll find that on page 12 of the newspaper. Again, we see UI students disappears from Lagos construction site. Family panics. This must be a student that has that desire to take advantage of the ASU strike and decide to go to do some work. He has disappeared, and his family is in panic. You find that in the paper this morning. Lastly, on the headline, we're going to be looking at AFC orders emerge preferred bidders for 12 federal highways. You are aware that the federal government is thinking of how to concession our highways. Now, let's go into some inside story of the Punch this morning. But before we do that, I would like to ask Mr. Ubiene, what do you think about this proposed threat to Jonathan's ambition, possible admission to join the APC as a presidential candidate?
Thank you. First of all, it has no place, it has no basis, because regardless what the law says, first of all, he's a Nigerian citizen. Nobody needs to threaten him. Before now, since speculations got to the air months before now, some of us have been in the front line trying to remind him as a person that what he did in 2015 and the kind of international accolades and opportunities it provided him to go deep in democracy in other sub-Saharan African countries and beyond is enough honor than the value of returning to contest as the president of Nigeria. And that in the history of the Nigerian political developments, we've rarely seen that kind of feat, that an incumbent can peacefully, regardless all the powers of incumbency, to submit to INEC's position. So for some of us, without any much ado, he doesn't need to be threatened. All he needs to do is some soul searching, if I must put it that way.
Right. So we are saying if you do some soul searching, we are going to take, actually this topic will be treated as one of the topics we'll take in the People's Parliament. So we are returning to that. But I actually want you to quickly respond to this. Article insists that he deserves first refusal, right of first refusal. Why should that be?
Well, it's, you know, we've not, the kind of political class we have in Nigeria are people who have refused to first understand the characteristics of a democratic society. Some of us have always maintained and argued that if you understand a democratic society, what comes to mind first is that it strives against the domination of power in the hands of few elites. So if you listen to Atiku again, he's telling you that the kind of democracy Nigeria should accept is such that power should dominate in the hands of few elites. But that is a sharp contrast to what you have across the world. And that is why he could sound this way. And I think it makes it necessary.
As if it is his right.
Thank you. So it's not. It's totally strange. It's inconsistent with democratic values as accepted globally. So Nigerians should not continue to accept the elevating of individual interests above collective interests.
Would you say that it's coming from arrogance?
Well, so to speak, because the masses, the electorates, the voting electorates are also wrongly or erroneously think that government business is a private or family affair. So it could also be born out of that kind of thinking.
All right, we will continue with the headlines. We are going to the inside reports on the Punch, and here we see that Kaduna 2023, that governorship of Kaduna 2023, Senator Uba Sani picks APC nomination forms. He wants to replace El Rufai as governor of that state. We also see in the Punch this morning that the police have arrested suspected killers of the NDA official that was killed in Nasarawa. Again, we see another story. Why Buhari didn't abandon Southeast despite poor records in 2019 polls. I don't know what viewers think about that, but somebody is saying that Buhari did not abandon the Southeast after that election 2019. But I think that there's a comment about 5% and 95%. You will just get into that paper and see what this person is talking about. Then there is a report, Abiodun reserved second term in office, according to Fayemi. Find the report and read for yourself. Ex-soldier petitions health ministry demands release of passport. Please find why this is the case. And the last story we are going to take from the Punch this morning, the last inside story, is 2023 Bayelsa disassociates self from comment by the risk media aid on Jonathan. Read that for yourself and find out why that is the case. We are leaving the Punch now and we go down to the next paper, and that is the Guardian. And the Guardian, the first story we see is Omo Agege insists Okowa took 150 billion naira loan. He is accusing the governor of Edo State of taking a loan of 150 billion naira. Please find the story inside the Guardian this morning. Next is Oba of Benin okays Oshibajo as group counters Falana on Jonathan's eligibility. Read for yourself and see what these two men are saying, doing with these reports. Now we have a story. Zenith grows earnings by 22%. I want to hear your view here, Pat. Yes. Every year we hear the banks are making huge profits in billions of naira. Yet we are yet to see how that impacts small and medium scale businesses. What do you have to say?
Well, in as much I'm not a financial expert, but from the reasonable man's judgment, like the judges will say, it appears they attend to more of the bourgeois, because the Nigerian political economy tend to favor the adage that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So they realize these profits from the few political class and captains of industries that are also conspirators with the political class and make some of. So because right now you look at petty transactions, sometimes you notice strange deductions from your account and nobody is explaining or coming forward to account for that. And if we have a responsible government, such kind of transaction that touches the suffering masses are the kind of things the banks should be explaining. Who takes such unofficial financial remittance to the bank and who benefits from it? So that may be in addition to what they are making from the bourgeois. I'm sure that's how they are making these profits, to the detriment to the suffering masses, because still as we speak, if you go around, you find a lot of people complaining that they can no longer understand the unexplainable and indiscriminate deductions happening to their bank account. So I'm sure that may be part of the sources they actualize these profits they're announcing, since there is no government to hold them accountable, because the government some of the government officials appear to conspire, to be conspirators in this process.
All right, while you're reading all that up, we also see on the front page of the Guardian this morning, Malami Shaban declared for Kebbi Kaduna governorship. That is 2023 election, and it's getting hotter from what we are seeing in Kaduna State. Then we come to the lead story, the lead headline of the Guardian this morning. Electoral Act. I didn't order Senate to remove Section 84, subsection 12. Buhari tells court. The story tells us that the federal government was sued, the president was sued about insisting about this issue about Section 84, subsection 12, whether the people in government should resign before the primaries or should resign before the actual election. So find out for yourself what that is about as you read it by yourself. We also see another story there. Efforts to restart local manufacture of vaccines suffer setback. That is a major blow to the health sector, and we hope that can be addressed quickly. We also see that same front page, police arrest Guba aspirant Dagogo despite protests by Ijo youths. You will recall yesterday that one of the governorship aspirants in Rivers State, Farah Dagogo, was said to be asked that he was now wanted by the governor, and today there's report that the police has arrested him. We also see another report there, Kaduna train attack, terrorists release picture of a baby born in captivity. We saw that report in the first paper we looked at, the Punch, this morning. Again, we see terrorists sack Kaduna community, adult leader and farmers. This is a serious one, very serious, and but I would like you to say something here.
And the adoption of the farmers and...
Yes, the sacking an entire community.
No, that is no longer strange. You witness, that's no longer strange. We wrongly come to accept as a norm. It's so pathetic. Our heart goes out to the victims because it's becoming a recurrent decimal that while many attempted to conclude if we have a failed state. Last time the US Scribe released, I think in partnership with the University, yes, that reports, and when I went through the paragraphs, there was one striking sentence. He said, how do you know failed state? He said they are violent. So the increasing, the uncontrollable and indiscriminate sacking of, before now there has been reports of even them hoisting their flags in some of these. So this particular rise, I would say, is not strange. It's unfortunate that it just keeps reoccurring, and that's why some of us have maintained that in senile climes and societies that take serious issues seriously, leaders who have failed to demonstrate capacity in line with the spirit of the constitution, which is primarily to protect, and provide for its citizens, and all that the social reality before is that it appears it has failed. All you need to do is honorable resign. But in this case, because we wrongly have accepted that government business is a family affair, nobody sees anything wrong that what the law says is the primary essence of why we voted you, and you can't demonstrate capacity, you still continue there. So that is why these violent criminals are still emboldened. Because I want to remind people, in 2011, former President Goodluck Jonathan was faced with this same hopeless situation, and that necessarily put on a committee headed by another, I can't really remember his name. In that report, one of the striking items was he recommended, he observed to Goodluck Jonathan that what is responsible for the increased violent crimes across the country is there seems to be increased impunity. That some of the people that has taken to these violent crimes, one, two combination factors. They understand they have leaders, but they don't know how they look like. So whatever grievances or whatever is agitating their minds, they want to pour it out, but they can't find anybody, so they resort to self-help. The next thing is that those who have committed crimes, they don't see a government willing and ready to punish them. Because the philosophy, the central philosophy of the law is that punish those who do wrong, praise those who do good. But here they are faced with a society where it appears those who do wrong tend to be elevated.
Obviously, this is going to be a topic we are going to take on this station, why impunity continues despite all the efforts that government says it's taking. And we're going to take the last story on the newspaper, that paper, when it says Southern Kaduna Afeni Fere fought Senate on Terrorism Act Amendment Bill. Yesterday we read the report that the Senate has made paying of ransom illegal. We don't know how that plays out. We are going to see how it goes on in the next few days, but perhaps we are going to see another court case in respect of this matter. We go on to the Vanguard this morning, and right there we find on the left hand corner, 30 days after train attacks, FG should have rescued kidnapped victims. That is coming from the Christian Association of Nigeria. Next we see how housing agency took my life savings, rendered me homeless. That is a serious complaint by an octogenarian. We also see Delta 2023, why I won't accept your candidate. Okowa tells Ibori. We don't know what that is. You find out by yourself and see what it is. Why is Okowa telling Ibori that he cannot take his... so you read for yourself and find out. Zenith Bank records, we just took that one, 22% growth in Q1 of 2022. Again, we see another report. IMF warns Nigeria orders against hunger-related social unrest. So the International Monetary Fund is concerned about the continuous unrest in Nigeria. Find out more details about that. Now, one of the topics we are going to be treating today is the issue of being a political appointee and having future ambition. Here, the vice president says how I became vice president. See that in the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Next to that, we see Workers' Day. Eid al-Fitr, federal government declares May 2 and 3 public holidays. Gunmen attack Billion van in Imo State, smash many vehicles. 2023, while I oppose Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act, Buhari tells court. On the right-hand corner, we see train attack, terrorists release picture of baby born in captivity. And the last story, their headline is PDP screens Ekweremadu, Abaribe, Naji, Jando, 29 others for governorship as governorship aspirants. And then there are columns by Donu Kobara, Owela Kemfa, and Adekoya on that paper. We are going to return to the VP story, but let's go on to the newspaper because the next newspaper because of time. The next newspaper we're going to be taking is The Nation. On the left-hand corner, we see insecurity. Sokoto residents sleep in Niger Republic. Insecurity. Sokoto residents sleep in Niger Republic. That's the first one we're taking from The Nation this morning. Then we see the next one. Terrorists release photo of baby born as by hostage. And then another report. Zenith Bank's first quarter earnings rose by 22% to 191.5 billion naira. Falana says Jonathan is barred by constitution from contesting again. See those reports in the inside pages of The Nation this morning. Another headline we see on the front page of The Nation this morning is shutdown of 840 megawatts plant, worsen power shortage, power outage. Shutdown of 840 megawatt plant, worsen power outage. All of us are experiencing serious challenges with power supply, and perhaps this is part of the reason why it is so at this time. The main report on The Nation this morning, Buhari to court. Electoral Act 84, subsection 12 is unconstitutional. We carried a discussion on this yesterday, so you can see that report by yourself in The Nation this morning. PDP screens 48 aspirants for governorship in the southwest and southeast. Already, PDP has produced 48 governorship aspirants in those two political zones. Another report, NEF chair urges parties to throw presidential tickets open. So they are against zoning the presidency at this point in time. I want to quickly read a summary of that report about the president. It says, Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022 cannot stand. President Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami San, told a court yesterday. They insisted that the section contravenes constitutional provisions and ought to be voided. Of course, a federal high court in Umuahia has already declared that that subsection of the Electoral Act is null and void. I think that case may continue to the Supreme Court, and perhaps it's also good for our politics. So I will be able to identify what should be part of the Electoral Act at this point in time. We are going on to our last paper this morning as we take on Daily Trust. Daily Trust this morning, 29th April 2022. First we see doubts over suicide committed by soldier working with Boko Haram. Doubts over suicide committed by soldier working with Boko Haram. The report carries that a member of the Nigerian army is said to have committed suicide after he was arrested with them. Find out more details in the newspaper. Again, we see PDP ticket, Atiku, Saraki, Muike, 14 others for screening today. And then the main headline for Daily Trust this morning, APC presidential ticket, high stakes in Southwest as 5 aspirants high ticket from the zone. Then there are riders, Osinbajo, Tinubu, Amosun, two others, to split zones 1,568 delegates. We are waiting direction. We are waiting direction party will take, according to Afenifere. We should strive for a national president. These are all issues that are going on as more and more people declare for the presidency for 2023. Here on the front page of Daily Trust, we see the picture of the child that was born in captivity as posted by the abductors. What do you think, sir?
It's very humiliating and very touching and very pathetic and quite unfortunate that this is happening, and only God knows when it will stop happening. If for nothing, the same way they considered, I think, one of the victims was let to go based on his age. I think he occupies a public position, a parastatal. I can't really remember.
Yes,
yes. So I had expected the same sympathy to be extended to this innocent mother of this newly born child, because that's also a very pathetic situation. They ought to have given a human face the same way they considered the,
other than just posting the picture.
Yes, and because in fact, since days hours earlier, I was just wondering the kind of characteristics that this kid is going to grow with. The influence, the environment matters a lot in the formative stage of another.
And the baby will always be reminded that
in this circumstance, and so that kind of trauma, it's more like the kind of trauma a rape victim lives with. So we pray that this kind of picture and incident and situation should force electorates to look at.
Can we have the picture on the screen? Let our viewers see. Is it possible? Can we see the picture?
Yes,
it evokes quite a lot. It evokes quite a lot.
How handsome baby is looking, and the irony is that this environment, it's such a very unpleasant.
It says something about terrorism in Nigeria. Let's just go on. It says something here. 700 firms bid for 12 billion naira railway projects. Okay, we see that in the inside pages of Daily Trust this morning. Then we have 2021 again. Buhari warns against foreign interference, vows to block rigging. See the stories for yourself. The story for yourself in today's copy of Daily Trust. Then we have Zenith Bank records 191 billion naira growth in the first quarter of the year. I would like us to look at the inside pages of Daily Trust this morning. It says 3 senators, 1 rep absent at Ebonyi PDP Congress. What do you think? Is it because the governor is no longer with PDP, or?
No, it's natural, because the political culture in Nigeria so far has been that of self-interest. No ideology, don't forget that, and that is one fundamental characteristic that is missing in the development of Nigerian political history. You find people who continue to promote their self-interest above, because look at, if you take years that His Almighty will imitate from, some persons have been members of their party for close to 50 years. That is because the same thing is happening in the ANC in South Africa. It's because from the beginning they all represented something, they all stood for something. So here you find that once the person is privileged to the public treasury, he gets all the support. Immediately he's off the public treasury, everybody from the beginning becomes enemy. So that kind of culture can in no way deepen democracy in Nigeria, because everybody will continue this culture of it's our turn, we against them. So that's why you could find this kind of scenario. But even some people that are binded by ideology, an orientation, a direction of thinking, that our party stands for a referendum in a democratic society, our party stands for not using one commodity from one section of the country to plan a national budget.
So the lack of ideology is a great influencer of the kind of politics that we're having in Nigeria. We couldn't look at another one. It says Tinubu can't impose policies on Edo State, says the Labour Party. What do you think? This is a recurrent story about Tinubu. What do you think, sir?
It's not too different from the immediate item we just looked at. The idea of Godfather, the idea, like I tried to say earlier, democracy encourages popular participation. Anything short of that, what you're promoting is tyranny and dictatorship. And when you look at Nigerian political history, we can no longer afford to go back to the ages when one man imposes or decides. No, then we can't claim to have a democratic society. If we say we have a democratic society, then one of the critical characteristics we should see at every material time is that there is popular participation. That is why now we are saying this, there's internal, this thing they call primaries. The idea of direct and indirect. Every member of the party has equal rights. The idea that one man decides, then it means that we've not moved away from the military ages. So I think the electorate need to take note of that. And come to think of it, in serious way, even the Ayolo, as deficient as the constitution is, there is the issue of code of conduct. Look at Josonege, what ested him out. It was because he didn't declare all his assets. That law provides that when the person attains the office, you declare when leaving. But perhaps you have noticed that in Nigeria, I don't know whether it's erroneous. When they are leaving office, the law don't come back to question. Let us declare your assets so that we can begin to measure why you flex so much, why do you have so much influence because of your financial power. So that's another fundamental mistake we have made.
Let's take another story here, something that catches my attention here. It says 60 dead on Imo payroll, audit shows. The paper says that 60 people who are already dead are on the payroll of the Imo state government. That means that the government is paying somebody who is dead and continues to pay.
You know what? That also explains why you have roaming unemployed young people out there. It's also a function of irresponsible leadership. There is no system. In fact, days ago I just came up with that conclusion. What we say, what are the social vices I see around us, and I just conclude to say is because there is no system. If you have a system, there is no way a permanent secretary will be the administrative head of a department, ministry, or then every financial year you don't evaluate and ascertain actual workers so that you create room for young people. Of course, the civil service rule sets a standard age that some people should retire. Then even in the event of death, how you replace that person. In serious societies, these are functions, processes that creates job in itself. That is, some people are paid heavily just to monitor that process. Here we don't recognize it as avenue to employ anybody because everything just begins from the governor, the commissioner, the permanent secretary. But in serious societies, they know it's a human challenge. So somebody is paid specially. Please monitor every year who is valid and who is not valid.
All right, let's take some three quick stories. Our time is almost up for this for the program. Queen Elizabeth, 95-year-old Queen Elizabeth of England, has caught COVID-19. Her son was had the case about 2 weeks ago, and now the mother, the 95-year-old queen, is down with COVID-19, but she's responding to treatment. That is in the inside page of The Nation. We also see South Africa assures safety of Nigerians after deadly attack. Another Nigerian was killed in South Africa, in the Kimberley district of South Africa, and the South African police is now saying that they will guarantee safety for Nigerians in South Africa. And lastly, we have budget. One of the financial investigation institutions in Nigeria is accusing the federal lawmakers of diverting the sum of 100 billion in constituency funds. I would like you to say something here, sir.
Well, it's a common trait among our political class. In the first place, this constituency project is an aberration because by the characteristics of the separation of powers, the legislature is not supposed to be involved in executing of physical projects. We are supposed to rather legislate laws that will drive the social engineering, that will, for example, mortgage laws should come from a lawmaker. A system that between 19 and 35 years, those who are not privileged to purchasing power, or you have a minimum source of income, you don't have house, because that's what the UN, the world government, considers insecurity. If you don't have shelter, you don't have food, you don't have clothes. So it takes the lawmaker to legislate on such policies and expect the executive. It is not the place of the lawmaker to go and say he's putting a what do you call it, monopump.
Yeah, the catch here is that out of this 100 billion, 60 billion is spent on empowering the cronies of the members of the National Assembly. That is what baffles me. 60% of this sum, instead of being used for projects, are used to satisfy the cronies.
Yeah, he will do so because, like what I said, from the beginning it's an aberration. He knows that ordinarily it's not his business to go doing projects. So that is why he can confidently channel it to satisfying cronies. Because from the beginning he is not supposed to go about canvassing whether there is monopump in the village or a farm. It's not his business.
That's the much we'll take this morning on Newspaper Review. It has been an interesting one, and we advise that you go get the newspapers and read the inside stories. And of course, we'll be waiting for your comments, comments and views on the stories we've carried this morning, and of course on our own the comments that our guest Pat Obiene has made this morning. My name is Didi West, and until next time we'll see you. But it's a pleasure to thank our guest. Pat Obiene is public affairs analyst and a social activist who is involved in so many social welfare, social mobilization activities within and outside River State. It's a pleasure to have you again here.
Thank you, Lee.
And till we meet again next week, it's bye from OneTV.